Welcome back, guys. So today I wanted to do my quick review on Mortal Kombat 2, the movie that came out this weekend. And of course I had to talk about it because it is Mortal Kombat. And I think this is a vast improvement over the first movie. The biggest problems with the first movie that came out in 2021, not the 1995 version, was that firstly, Cole Young is like an extremely boring character. Uh, no disrespect to the actor who played him, Louis Tan. I think he does a fantastic job as that character, but he's not like leading man material. Not the actor, the character. It's just kind of boring. He's more of a side character. And I think his personality is also way too close to Liu Kang. So I understand why they didn't want to go with him as the main character again because they did that in the 1995 version. But I still think it would have been a better choice. So in this movie, we get Johnny Cage as our main character as our entry point, and I think that's so much better because he's actually part of the world. He has a much more fun personality, and he reacts a lot more to the situations around him. On top of that, the other big problem was that there was not enough fights in the first movie. There was way too many times where they were just standing around talking, very noticeable, and the fights that they did have were just kind of okay. And there's also no tournament, there was no big Mortal Kombat tournament that everyone knows the game's for. Street Fighter has their tournaments, Tekken has their whatever they're doing. But, fighting games most of the time are known for their tournament story modes because it's the easiest way to get characters to fight each other than like brainwashing or zombie stories. I am going to go into some spoilers for this movie, so just keep that in mind. It's just a very hard movie to talk about without going into spoilers, and I've never done a movie review before, so bear with me. So I'm just going to go through the cast and some characters that I thought were really cool, and starting with the returning ones, Liu Kang is back, and he is a lot better than the first one. In the first one, he was more of just like the Boy Scout of the group. He was a lot like Cyclops in X-Men 97, and I mean that in the sense of he's just like Cyclops in that show is great, but you can really tell what his personality is very easily. He's just kind of the honor guy. Like he's very in charge of things, and he's just kind of there. The writing for this character was a lot better this time, and I think that Ludi Lin, I think is who does it, did a fantastic job. And his fight scene with Kung Lao, his brother, who was revived using the Revenant storyline from Mortal Kombat X and 11, was really smart. And I think it's one of the best fights in the movie, especially the ending, where it references the fatality from Mortal Kombat 9. I think that's the one, but a lot of Kung Lao's fatalities are very similar. Yeah, so he was good. Kung Lao, for the couple of minutes that he was in there, was very good. The two of them have the best dynamic in the movie. I think you could definitely make a Shaolin Monks movie off of these two. Include some of the lesser known like 3D era characters in there and have their own little side story. Jax was cool again. They do a lot of cool stuff with his arms. And he has one part where he's trying to rip open a cage to, not Johnny Cage, an actual cage, to get an amulet out, and it's really cool. He's played by Machad Brooks. I think I'm saying that right. I may butcher some of these names, so I apologize ahead of time. So, he was great. And then Raiden was cool. I think he does a great job in the movie. He still hasn't gotten a fight scene, which is kind of disappointing to me. He does get his, flying lightning grab, whatever you call that thing, where he does the scream. And he does that on Shang Tsung, and it's really cool. He still hasn't got a fight scene. He's not supposed to interfere with the tournament, like the Watcher in Marvel or something. So it's kind of boring to see him just kind of stand around and, give pep talks and stuff. But still, it's nice to see him. So he didn't do a bad job. I just wish he had more to do. And then Sonya was good just like last time, played by Jessica McNamee. She did a fantastic job as well. Her fight scene with Sindel, which was a cool Easter egg, was great to watch in the death pit. They have a lot of those stages from the older games, specifically Mortal Kombat 2, which is based off of. They've got like the flesh pits, the Deadpool, not that Deadpool, the other Deadpool, and I forget what this one's called, but it's in there too. Yeah, so they did a great job recreating those stages. One thing that was a little disappointing was that Sub-Zero is not in this movie. I think Sub-Zero is one of my favorite characters from Mortal Kombat, but he's actually resurrected in this movie as Noob Saibot. And personally, I think this is the best Noob Saibot has ever looked in the games or in media. He's never actually appeared in the movies before. I don't know about the animated movies. I haven't watched all of them. But as far as the live action ones, this is his first appearance. So it's really cool to see him. And the effects on the clone for him are super cool. He has a great fight scene with Scorpion, who's in this. He's only in it for a couple of minutes, but his storyline was kind of wrapped up in the first one. And I think they did a good job of including him while also including Bihan in this, because you kind of have to. Bihan is Noob Saibot's real name, and Sub-Zero's, obviously. So it was a good way to include him, and bring him back with Quan Chi's magic is very smart, and their fight scene together in the Nether Realm was great. And I will touch on this before I go further. The visual effects in this are fantastic. All of the like classic arenas and places like Outworld, Adenia, and NetherRealm, and all of those look awesome. I think they are exactly how they should look. I do wish a couple of the fights were in daytime. There's only one fight in daytime where Johnny Cage fights Baraka, and it's one of the best ones because it just, you can see what's happening a lot better. And it's kind of consistent with the games. I think only Mortal Kombat 1 was like the only one where most of them were in the daytime. I know the stages, I mean. It's really easy to see, but still. So I'll move on to the new characters now. Carl Urban as Johnny Cage, I think was a great choice. He does play the older Johnny Cage from mainly Mortal Kombat X and Mortal Kombat 11. So I wish we could have seen the younger one, but he was already kind of done in the original movies, and he was great there. So I understand why they wanted to do something a little bit different. He did a great job, and he was very funny, and he's super cool, and stuff like that. But he wasn't he wasn't super funny. He wasn't his, like, arrogant self that we all know and love. He's more just a down on his luck gambler who doesn't really, like, he doesn't act anymore. He's like a washed up old guy. I loved, this is a bit of a spoiler, I guess, but I loved the interaction where he has with one of his fans at a bar, where he's like, nobody wants to see my old reboots. They just want to see Keanu Reeves kill 1,000 dudes with a pencil. Obviously referencing Keanu Reeves and John Wick, which is super funny. Oh yeah, I forgot. Josh Lawson as Kano is perfect. He's hilarious. He's a scumbag just like Kano should be. His powers with the laser eye is great. And I think he was easily the funniest character in the movie. And yeah, I think he did a fantastic job. And I'm glad that they resurrected him from the last movie and gave him something to do. And he's kind of like the don't know if you can trust him, that type of guy. So I think he needed a little more screen time, but he got good screen time in the last one, so I understand that. There's a lot of characters to balance here. Yeah, new characters. Katana, played by Adeline Rudolph, I think is how you say that. Very good. You can tell that there's a very big tonal shift between when Katana is on screen and when Johnny is on screen, because Katana is much more of a serious character, and her relationship with her father and Shao Kahn and her friend Jade is taken very seriously. So, and it's supposed to be more like a very tragic story. It's supposed to ground you into some stakes, and I think it does a good job of that. I think they'll probably have more stakes in the Street Fighter movie in a few weeks or a few months from now, which is fine. I think Street Fighter's always been goofier than Mortal Kombat, and that's fine. Um, yeah, I think she did a great job. She had good fight scenes with Johnny Cage and Shao Kahn. Uh, she has a great fatality at the end with Guess Who. But um, yeah, overall, I think she did a great job. Jade, played by Tati Gabriella, I think is how you say that, was very good too. Jade is personally not one of my favorite characters from Mortal Kombat. She's just not super interesting to me, and her powers are super annoying to fight against, particularly in Mortal Kombat 11. I know that's not a fair thing to compare it to in this context. I still don't really enjoy that character too much. I thought she did a great job, and her dynamic with Katana was handled very well, and um, the twist at the end with her was very well set up, and I thought it did well. Um, Now to the big guy, right? Shao Kahn, played by Martin Ford. And I saw some behind the scenes photos with him and some premiere stuff with Uncaged Games where he was taking pictures with him and stuff like that. And this man is massive. I mean, I was curious what they were going to do because Shao Kahn is always like double the height of most of the normal characters other than Goro, who is not in this. He was in the last one, he died. Um, so I think he did a great job. I was curious if they were going to just put an actual actor in there or put a body double in there and have the voice done by someone else, like out of The Rock or whatever. But no, they actually cast a real guy in the suit and he did a great job. He actually gets a ton of fight scenes, a lot more than I thought he would. I think he gets like 4 or 5, and he opens the movie with killing King Jared. And this is not a spoiler, it's like the first 2 minutes of the movie. And it's in the trailer. So, it's very cool. Has some great fights. I love that he used the hammer, because he used the axe in Mortal Kombat 1, the game. And I thought that was kind of boring. I like him using the hammer a lot more. I think he did a great job. And it was super cool to see him. And quickly, I wanted to touch on like the costume designs. I think everyone looks exactly how they should. Shao Kahn in particular looks fantastic, like a perfect mix between like a monster and a dude with all the armor on and the scales and things like that. I think he looks fantastic. Johnny Cage, I like the opening with him in the fake Uncaged Fury movie where he's in the blue shirt from Mortal Kombat 11. I like that better than the brown leather jacket like this one. Still looks great. And I love like the blonde highlights, looks kind of cool. But I do prefer the blue one that he had earlier. But that's alright. Yeah, everyone else looks great. The one disappointment for me in this movie for characters was Quan Chi. I'm glad to see him. He's one of my favorites. Him and Ermac, who is not in this movie, are some of my favorites. And I was a little bit disappointed with him just because he didn't have a fight scene. You know, he has a ton of cool stuff. Like, he's a necromancer, so he can control, like, skeletons. And he throws, like, glowing skulls. And he can use portals, which is always fun to see. But he doesn't really do anything. Like, he brings Kano back to life, and then Sindel, which happens off screen, and Kung Lao. He brings those 3 back, and Noob Saibot. So like he does stuff, but he doesn't actually do a fight. He just kind of stands around and talks and does random stuff like that. So it's not super interesting for him, but it's kind of typical for his games. Like, in cutscenes, he's mostly just walking around doing magic-y stuff, although he is a fighter, so it's okay. I hope he gets more screen time in the sequel, the 3rd movie. But, yeah, so the fights, I'll go on with those. The fights were very good. They were much better than the last one. I think the last ones were not bad, but I don't think the costume designs and the lack of CGI in those helped very much. Like, they're probably well choreographed, but they needed a little more juice to it. The opening fight with Jared was kind of good. I mean, Jared has never been a fighter. He's not really supposed to be like a big character, so it's fine. It was really just to show off how cool Shao Kahn was, and it did a great job of that. Yeah, and I loved how they just kind of zapped away to different places around Outworld and Earthrealm and stuff and had to fight whoever just showed up there. It was fun. One of the best fights was definitely Johnny Cage versus Baraka, and Baraka as a new character in this movie was probably the best new character that has good amount of screen time other than Shao Kahn, because he is very funny, and the whole thing, he looks very much like a Star Wars character because of the practical effects on like the jaw, because he has like tons of teeth coming out of him and he's got like the blades, and it looks really cool. They do a lot of great stuff with his like throwing the spikes and really cool stuff. And Outworld, where they were at, where his tribe is, looks very Mad Maxy or like something out of Mandalorian or something like that, which is not a bad thing. I'm just saying that it fits with the character, and they're always the outcasts of that world, and they did a good job of portraying that. Because they have like some disease or whatever that makes them have crazy teeth and super hungry for any kind of meat they can get their hands on, and like spikes all over him and stuff like that. He's like, if you think of a Mortal Kombat character, you think of a ninja, and then you think of him. And he's like the quintessential Mortal Kombat fighter. He's played by CJ Bloomfield, who I think did a great job. He's very funny, which I know Baraka is not. He's actually portrayed more here with a lot more heart and more stuff to do than the games. Because in the games, him and his tribe are either portrayed as monsters, like super beast, almost animal-like characters, or they're super sympathetic, like, oh, pity me or whatever, I have this weird illness or whatever. So it's nice to just have them be characters that are like kind of freaky looking, and they know that, and they just kind of move on, and they just kind of do cool stuff with their tribe and their powers and stuff like that. So I think it was just nice to have that kind of a mix-up type of thing there. I did want to mention the cameo by Ed Boon in this, and he plays a bartender, very similar to how Stan Lee used to do it. I think he did it in Incredible Hulk. I could be wrong though. But yeah, very cool. Glad that he got in there. So happy for him. He's the creator of Mortal Kombat, in case you didn't know. Now I wanted to touch on the family friendliness of this, because I always like to do that on my channel, whether I'm talking about movies or games or whatever. This is definitely a rated R movie. There is some bloody action in here. You know, one guy gets his head smashed by a hammer, and tons of stuff like that. So, and there's some language, a lot of uses of some F words and things like that, but there is no use of anything inappropriate, I'll say it that way. There's one word, or there's one reference by Kano to anything like that, but the rest is perfectly fine. Even Johnny Cage, which I was surprised with, didn't say any comments about Sonya, which he's kind of known for. He does marry her in the games and have a kid who grows up to be another fighter, Cassie Cage. So, I was surprised about that. Not that I was upset that he didn't, but like, I was surprised. I think this is definitely a movie though that can be put on Sci-Fi Channel, and they can take some of the things out and it'd be perfectly enjoyable movie. Obviously the crazy fights is what makes Mortal Kombat, but they aren't like super bloody until you get to like the final move that actually finishes off the characters. And I watched the first one on Sci-Fi Channel years ago, I watched the like PG-13 version, and while it was obvious where they cut some corners and cut some things out, it was still enjoyable and coherent as a movie on its own. So I think it's perfectly watchable on its own. So hopefully, when this movie comes to streaming or to YouTube TV or whatever, eventually, you will have another way to watch it that will be fine. As far as any other problems I had, it was a very, very fast movie. I think it's one of the fastest I've seen. To be fair, it is a sequel, so the only person who didn't really know what was going on from the start was Johnny, and he kind of hops on board with it fairly quickly. I mean, he gets teleported there, and just it's funny how he reacts to like Jax's arms and Liu Kang's fireballs and stuff. He's like, "Oh, that seems unfair, but okay." And that's kind of his whole reaction to that, which is fine. But it was clear that they were just trying to get to the fights and get to the story as quick as possible, which is fine. But there's very few moments where they just kind of slowed down and had some character moments, had them talking. I think that was one of the reasons I feel like Johnny Cage didn't have too many funny things. It was Kano had a lot more funny things, because Kano has one fight in this movie, and that's fine. He had plenty in the last one, but the rest of his screen time is just him standing around, messing with other people and making deals and whatever. So if Johnny had done a little more than that, a little more of that, I think he would have been better. I think they explained it well enough to where you don't have to watch the first one, but when Scorpion and Bihan show up at the end, you're gonna kind of be caught off guard because they're just throwing in new characters in the last 30 minutes of the movie. It's funny though, it does make this movie existing and stuff that happens in it makes the first movie seem worse. And what I mean by that is, obviously it improves on a lot of things. It actually has the tournament, but spoiler alert, Cole Young dies in this movie, which is a shame because, well, I don't think it was the greatest thing ever. I don't think it was like protagonist material. I do feel bad for the actor. He has like 5 lines, and then he fights Shao Kahn, and then just dies. And that's kind of it. It's funny because he was the main character in the last movie. And in case you're wondering, he's an original character to these movies. He's not from the games, and that's why nobody likes him. It's also because he's very boring, like I said earlier. If he was a little more fun, more interesting, you would probably like him better, but I think he's just pretty boring. It's funny where he gets this whole build up in the first movie and all this stuff, and then dies in the first 15 minutes of the second. So, and our main characters shift to Johnny Cage and Katana. So, it's very apparent where it was a very fan-pleasing movie, and I don't mean that to where it's something like Deadpool and Wolverine, where it's nothing but cameos and one-liners towards, real-world events or anything like that. I mean that as in they did a lot to fix the problems that people had with the first one. And they said, okay, you like this, we're going to put it back. You don't like this, okay, we'll take that out. That type of stuff. They did a very good job of that. Maybe a little too much. I don't think Cole needed to die. I think he would have been, he was a side character for the first 15-20 minutes of it, and he was fine. I wish he had more to do. Obviously, you need characters in this movie to die, and my money, even going into it, was that he was going to die. I think he had probably just about as much screen time as Taskmaster did going into Thunderbolts, which is another character nobody liked. It's like I could have told you months in advance of that movie coming out that she was going to die in the first 10 minutes of that movie, and she did. Like I said, I don't think he deserved to die. I thought he was a fine enough character, but it is what it is. So, I thought Mortal Kombat was very good. I think it improves on just about everything the first one did, and I am very excited for the sequel because it'll be the third one, and the final shot, there's no post-credit scene to the best of my knowledge. They kind of set up the next one pretty easily, um, where all they do is they kind of walk off into the sunset as a team, whoever's still alive, and they say they're gonna go get their friends back, um, with the help of Quan Chi. He can like resurrect people, which I guess is just how they get them back to fight and whatever. So they're gonna go do that, and they're gonna have to venture into Netherrealm to go get the amulet to do that, or something like that. But I think what's probably gonna happen is somehow Quan Chi's gonna get away, use the amulet to revive King Jared, and he'll become Ermac, which happens in MK1, and he has like, yeah, so he's very cool. And then they're the two of them, and maybe some other random characters like Moloch or something like that, will go and try to resurrect Shinnok, bring him into Outworld and Earthrealm and whatever, who is like another necromancer type character, who's very cool. And I hope that he is the bad guy in the next one. And they have to call it Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. They have to do that. Because there were two versions of Mortal Kombat 3. Well, there's kind of three because you got Trilogy in there, but whatever. When Mortal Kombat 3 came out, the game, nobody liked it because they took out a bunch of characters. So they made a new version where they put characters back in and called it Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. So that's the what they should call the movie. Nobody plays the original. They just play that one. So that's what they should call it. So, thank you so much for watching. Did you enjoy this video? Would you like me to do more reviews of movies when they come out? I'd like to review the Street Fighter movie when it comes out in October. And maybe some other movies down the line. We'll have to see. So hit the like, subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.